String lights can be a great way to accent any outdoor space, and smart string lights not only allow you to run them on a schedule, but you can also individually control the color of each bulb, which then makes for some great dynamic lighting effects. And Govee has a lot of great smart lighting options, including 5 different types of string lights, and they all have different advantages and times where you'd want to use one over the other. So that's why I've partnered with Govee in this video to try every single one of their string lights, sweat the details and differences between each one to let you figure out which one is right for your space, and stay tuned to the end of the video when I'll let you know which ones I'm keeping for my backyard. So let's start off by clarifying the things that all of these string lights have in common. They all support a varying number of customizable, smart, dynamic lighting scenes that you can set up in the Govee app and edit to your heart's content. They also have music sync modes, which can work with your phone's audio or a little mic that's on the control box. There's also a physical power button on the control box of all of them. And outside of any smart home control, you can also configure them in the Govee app with Bluetooth connection. And speaking of the Govee app, you can set up schedules there to have them turn on or off at particular times of day, including with Govee's auto run feature, which has smart automations like running at sunset or sunrise. Now, one of the newest and most flexible types of string lights, you don't need to plug them in. They have a solar panel that comes with the set, and that is a built-in battery, which you can also fast charge with USB-C. Now, I was really excited to try these lights, but I had a little bit of a complication setting them up, hanging them out in my tree. Now, just to clarify, I think this problem is my mistake, not necessarily Govee's or a quality issue. So we'll get back to these lights a little bit later in the video. Moving on to the Govee Outdoor Clear Bulb string lights. These retail for around $90 for a single set, and these have a clear design, and they're available in up to 3 strands combined, each strand being 48 feet long. Each light on these strings outputs 80 lumens of light, which is much brighter than the solar lights at only 50 lumens, and there's a dual loop design for hanging them. So as you hang them, you want to be sure that the wires on either side don't get crossed and are coming out the proper side of the bulb. Otherwise, it might not hang exactly straight. To protect that clear outer coating, they also come with a plastic cover over all the clear lights that you want to remove. These are IP67 weather resistant, and they also support Matter over Wi-Fi, so you can connect them with Apple Home or any other smart home system of your choice. Now, these sets of lights support over 111 different preset scenes in the Govee app, including 10 music modes. And the multicolor scenes still look great on this, but the clear design of the lights doesn't really emphasize the color differences quite as much as some of the other Govee lights, unless you're looking at these in complete darkness. So if multicolor lighting effects are at the top of your list of priorities for these lights, I would maybe look at other options. Either way, when these lights are off or on, the clear light design does look very cool. Moving on to the Govee Smart Outdoor S14 Bulb String Lights 2. These sell for around $10 less than the clear bulb string lights, and they have a frosted white bulb cover on them. Now, instead of the dual loop design, they have a single loop design in the top corner of one of the bulbs. And when you hang it on a line like I did with zip ties, I felt like I needed to add some extra zip ties to connect the rest of the cable to the line just to make it look really clean. But once I went through that, I was happy with the results. I love how the Govee lighting effects render on these, by the way. It supports over 100 preset scenes you can customize in the Govee app, including 10 music modes. And the light up part of the bulb is a lot of the bulb compared to the next lights we'll talk about. Even though they're technically not quite as bright as the clear bulb string lights at 65 lumens per light, I still think you can see the colors really nicely. They also support Matter over Wi-Fi, and overall, I was just pleasantly surprised by these lights. Moving on to the Govee Outdoor String Lights 2. These are priced a little bit higher. They're about $10 more expensive than the clear bulb string lights, and they have much more brightness than either of the ones we previously talked about at 100 lumens per bulb. Now, these are kind of like the classic Govee string lights, and they're bright enough that I could see them working for just even lighting up an entire outdoor area, not just being accent lights. They're also shatter resistant, so if you're worried about these falling from wherever they're hanging from onto, let's say, hard pavement, these are probably a good option there. They also have a wide range of temperatures they're rated to operate in, from down around 0 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and the light bulbs are rated to last 25,000 hours. Despite all the durability and other resistance, they're only at IP65 weather resistance, but this still means at IP65 that they should resist plenty of weather and heavy storms. Now, keep in mind that these don't have quite the range of white light support that the S14 bulbs do. They also don't support Matter, although they do have some smart home control over Wi-Fi. And they also have about half the dynamic scenes in the Govee app. One other thing to note is these have a different style of hanging than the S14 bulbs. You get these little plastic molds in the box, and then you snap those around the cable going to the bulb, and then you can attach that to, let's say, a line you're hanging it from, or just hang it directly across an area. Now, if you are hanging it to a line like I am, then you'll get this kind of dual line effect where the cable for the lights is just below but separated from the line that's actually supporting or hanging your string lights. I think this looks fine. You can also kind of compress this with zip ties. I tried that too. But it is sort of a look that is a decision you have to consider when you're trying to figure out what looks good in your space. And so I would say if brightness and durability are more of a priority for you than, let's say, smart home connectivity, these could be a good option. Now, this gets me to the lights that I was most excited to try out at the beginning of this, which is the Govee Outdoor Chromatic String Lights. These are multicolored gradient bulbs. They use the same kind of plastic molds around the cable for hanging that we just talked about in the string lights too. And that does create this nice dual line look between the two lines if you're hanging them from another string like I am. And the installation video from Govee also shows you a cool way with these kinds of molds, how you can customize how far down the light hangs from the main string. So if you want them to hang a little lower, you can totally do that. Now, there's a number of things that put the gradient string lights in a category of their own. They have 240 lumens per bulb, which is 3x more than the clear bulb string lights we talked about. And Govee says that these lights are 17 times denser than other string lights in terms of the amount of light they have. Now, another thing that's different about these is instead of the typical length of string lights, you're dealing with strings at 33 feet. And so you can get these with a 33-foot configuration or around a 66-foot configuration of two of the strings together. They're also IP67 weather resistant, and they're rated to last up to 30,000 hours of on time. Now, these chromatic string lights have the biggest selection of preset lighting effects in the Govee app. I love the flowing light effect. It looks amazing, like just seeing the different colors flow through the bulb. And also the bubble bee effect kind of has this lava lamp vibe to me that I think is really cool. Now, you can also not only customize the scenes with this light, you can also custom paint the colors of how you want them to appear around the bulb. Now, there are some downsides with these. First is that because of all the stuff these have, they're just bigger and heavier lights than a lot of the other options. And they also come with a much bigger power cable with an external power brick. And so for my taste and what I'm looking for in my backyard, these were just too big for me. Not really what I was interested in, but I think if your priority is more in lighting effects and you have a big space to hang them in, they could be really nice. Now, moving back to those solar lights. So when I was installing my original solar lights, I just pulled too hard on them and the cable popped out. And so I just went ahead and ordered a new batch of them from Amazon, and I successfully got them installed in my tree. And I do think this whole idea of being able to have outdoor lighting that's solar powered makes a ton of sense, because finding a power source and running cables to your lights can always just like an extra thing to deal with, and to be able to have the flexibility of putting these lights wherever you want, not having to think about the power, is really great. But it does come with some trade-offs. So for example, these lights connect with Bluetooth. They don't have any Wi-Fi radios. They can talk to some smart home automations, including the Govee app. And you can also use the Govee app, like I talked about previously, to set up schedules for these lights to automatically turn on and off at different times. They also only have a single 33-foot string of lights, and that string only has 8 bulbs, which is less than the other ones. This is one bulb about every 4.92 feet, whereas the other string lights we talked about have bulbs about every 3 feet. The solar panel also has a built-in battery, and it can fast charge with USB-C, which is very helpful. And as I mentioned earlier, the lights support up to 50 lumens of brightness per bulb, and the battery's rated to power the lights for 4 hours of runtime with that brightness level, but the battery can power the lights for up to 13 hours of runtime if you dim them to about 10 lumens, or around 20% brightness in the app. Despite these trade-offs, you still get Govee's full 16 million color support, and it's all with Govee's new Lumen Blend light technology they were showing off this year at CES. So I think these solar-powered outdoor lights are gonna stay in my tree. Now, I decided to try hanging these in my tree just because I had that option with the solar power, but if you're just interested in lighting up your trees, of course, Govee also has some dedicated outdoor lights for doing just that. And that gets me to which of these string lights am I actually going to keep and use on a regular basis? Well, because I like the solar string lights so much, I think I'm gonna go back to those clear bulb string lights. I really like the way they look, both when they're off and then also when they're on. They don't quite emphasize the multicolored lighting effects as much as I like with some of the other lights, especially the S14 lights. I think those might be the best value for money of this whole list. And yeah, I'd love to hear in the comments if there are any of these lights that stand out to you or you have any questions, and there'll be a link at the top of the description to learn more about any of these lights and get some for yourself. Thanks again so much to Govee for supporting my channel by sponsoring this video, and I'll see you in the next one.